All right. Hey everybody, it's Captain Kill Team here again. Today we're doing a tier list video because I'm the most original person out there, but we're not going to run through all the teams because we all got places to be. Um, Joining us today, we've got another esteemed guest. It's Bart Lewandowski. He's got a lot of titles, I suppose. He's very good at salvagers and novitiates and blah blah blah. He's also going to be the captain of the UK team for World Team Championships this year. Very exciting. And also, he was best overall at the World Championships.
Thank you, Dan. Hello, everyone. I'm best at blah blah blah. Definitely, out of all of the things that you mentioned, because I clearly talk too much. So hopefully, we'll manage to record this one in less than an hour or about an hour. It'd be great. But yeah, let's kick it off.
Right. So overall changes in the meta. I think sort of before the two big dogs dropped, and we got the latest data slate. I think we were looking at an elf meta of like Corsairs were top, Void Dancers were top, kind of Felgors as a good elf counter. Uh, they've not exactly been murdered, but they certainly have dropped a bit, especially poor Hand of the Archon. And I think it's all about elites being able to counter these two big dogs, Sanctifiers and Goremongers, and everyone else is sort of scrabbling for a place in that rock paper scissors, right?
Yeah, maybe. Like, I know that people used to say that it was an elf meta. The way I would look at that is like at first it was an elf meta, and then people realized, that melee teams like Colt or Felgo were still really, really good. So it quickly became a meta that was more shifted towards these teams, and like that prompted the rise of elites again, and that was like almost like sealed with the balanced data slate, where the elves that could hamper the elites a bit more got hammered a bit, and now as you said, that rock paper scissors situation. So yeah, this is how we see the meta game as of now. Like we've got more elites, we've got a nasty S tier that you look at right now, and yeah, and everyone is trying to play catch up.
Yeah, so I guess given you mentioned it, that does sort of bring us onto the S tier, right? So first
Yep.
of all, the dreaded Sanctifiers.
Yeah, interestingly, I asked a lot of players from the UK about the top teams that they consider as the top teams in the game, and every single person, apart from one, responded Sanctifiers. That is the very first team that came to their mind, and so it clearly, looking at this tier list, looking at other tier lists available online, this team is widely considered as the best team in the game. But I'm more interested on your take on Hyrotech, because this is probably one of the hot takes of this tier list.
Yeah, so I think when Hyrotech received their nerfs, everyone was panicking. And, ironically, using an image of the Technomancer to represent them, but I think the play with the Chronomancer is still amazing. The ability to whip guys across the board, shoot through them, have them do actions. There's a bunch of different techs with the team, and it's a really high skill ceiling. But I think that their ability to reanimate, their durability, their sheer killing power, and all the different tools they have that they can be good at tac op, like especially confirm kill, they're quite good at. They do super well on
I
kill op, they do super well on tac op, and so long as you don't fall too far behind on crit op, you should win the game.
I think it's a great summary, but as much as I am a hobbyist, I admire you massively for telling different cryptics apart. To me, this is just the big guy I have to kill, and that's more or less it. And I just asked my opponent whenever I play Necrons, okay, which one is it? What does it do? What's the trick? And I don't really possess the capability of telling different cryptic models apart. But yeah, I agree with what you said. I think given that we now look at uh, rise of elite meta again, Necrons, Hierotech in general, that they should be quite good killing elites, and they have some flex, and they can play well into other teams, and they have the important aspect of doing something in an unfair manner, like legally breaking the rules of the game, which is always something that you look for. And there's like a recurring theme if you look at the ST that we have here. We've got Necrons that live twice. We've got Goldmongers that almost like live twice. We've got cults where there is like an endless number of them, and that shows like a theme of these guys are hard to kill, meaning that these guys are difficult to score kill up, off, and I think this is like something that binds this S2 together.
Yeah, it's a very good point. All of these teams are amazing at kill up. So maybe that really is what they're trying to go for. Put the kill back in kill team, and that's where the points can mostly be won.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. What would you say about our elite situation? Because we mentioned that elites are uh, back on the menu. They will be popular. Like no matter where you look, like you've got plenty of elite players again, and we somehow managed to put all of them in A tier.
Yeah, so I just think a lot of the elites do have good play into sanctifiers, just with their high stats and their ability to rush them down in melee and everything, and especially being quite difficult to kill and counteract being good into a high activation team. But especially, I think like Goremongers are the other big team a lot of people are playing and a lot of people are worried about. And Goremongers kind of crush everyone except elites, in my opinion. So I think the elites are really good into them, and they're just sort of good into sanctifiers, goremongers, maybe cults, and they just have probably the most play into the current meta out of all the archetypes, really.
Yeah, yeah. Regarding cults, I think we discussed it briefly before the recording that cults struggle more with elites that can like pop the injury aura. And yeah, that's probably why we have cults in S tier, and we've got like plenty of elites to one tier below. I would agree that elites are quite good, and I can see why people are drawn to elites. I personally have never enjoyed playing elites like ever. I find it really hard to find comfort in on these six models on a team. Um, so it's definitely not a thing for me. And when everyone is trying to play elites, I always try to find something that just batters them into the ground. Hence, I'm playing salvages, or previously void dancers. But yeah, this is more or less how we see the A tier. And I guess before we move on to B tier, there's one more thing I wanted to mention about void dancers because people um, started looking at them like not really appreciating the fact that they're not as strong anymore because they got nerfed both in the FAQ and then subsequently in the balance patch. The nerf from the balance patch, the one to the epic allegory is not really relevant in my opinion. Like the when I played them at Worlds last year or before that, I would play melodrama 10 out of 10 times and just switch into epic if necessary. And then when it comes to the other aspects, if we all think that elites are back on the menu, that they are going to be the name of the game apart from the S tier, then the Void Dancers are really good at killing elites. They're very good at scoring points, and they've got enough movement and enough APL to just score 8 or 9 points from plant beacons quite easily. So I would say that they're still there, and they should be up there, like just beneath the S tier.
I think there's absolutely also something to be said for the fact that they can do very well into higher attack and into goremongers as well as the other sort of top dogs right now.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. I know we wanted to discuss equivalents and salvages as like a joint package. But before we do, maybe we can quickly jump over to Plague Marines because this is probably another hot take of this tier list. And yeah, like I'm gonna say it straight up. I don't really like Plague Marines. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think they sort of lack certain tools and they being slow without any sort of out of activation movement. It's kind of painful.
Yeah, yeah, I know if, free APL like saves them a bit and counteracts, allowing them to move up the board a bit more. But if you combine the fact that they have very fixed weaponry, and the best they can get regarding reliability is probably their Sisters, and that's it. I don't really see them as high up the tier list as many other people would. So yeah, I agree that I think they should be like in the bottom part of the A tier. They're still a solid team. They are very durable and will be very forgiving, I would say. But at the same time, I think they lack agency. Yeah, most of all.
Yeah, I think it is the injury aura that's doing really well for them right now because there's two teams like uh, Cult and Goremongers, it really hurts, and then it's also quite good into Sanctifiers as well. But I think this is a tool that maybe isn't that good into like Higher Attack or Warp Coven, and I think that that will really suffer if the meta weren't as it is right now.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think this just seals the deal. Like they do rely on the durability, the injury aura. They do not have as much agency as some other elite teams. As you can see, we put Phobos and Nemesis Claw as the best elite teams in A tier because they have a lot more tricks. They can delay the activations and they can play the game in a much more unfair way than Plague Marines who just move forward, they tank the shot or whatever you have coming for them, and then they try to kill you. And for that reason, I just don't like them as much as many other players would. So there's that. Yeah, and I did promise that we will mention Aquilins and salvages a bit. I know that salvages got nerfed, but and I do appreciate that Rid of Claim is not nearly as strong as it used to be. But at the same time, they still kill elites. Both of these teams kill elites really well, really efficiently. They do have enough tricks up their sleeve to play the game in a slightly unfair manner. And when it comes to salvages, they've got access to, and they've got Aquilons have got the same archetypes as salvages, right? No, Aquilons have recon and seek and destroy, whereas
That's right.
salvages
Yeah.
have security. But both of these teams play well into their respective attack up archetypes, and for that reason, because they kill elites well, they score points well. I think they're good enough to be in A tier, and middle of the pack in A tier is probably where they should be.
Yeah, I think they are an interesting one because although they like serve sort of the same role, they do it in quite different ways. Salvages with all of their various tricks, the jump pack guy, the comms jam, the crazy gunners. Whereas I think Aquilans are much more sort of honest, right? They use drop tokens so as not to be wiped off the board early on, and then they just sort of stick on the vantages and eventually drop down and melter whoever, basically.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. And like I played against Aquilans only once against your father out of all the players.
Okay.
And he beat me slightly in that game, and yeah, I thought like, what happened? What went wrong? And then I analyzed the game. I said, okay, so this team plays in a way they do play similar to Salvages, but they kind of have to be a bit more aggressive with their play, and they cannot play from behind as well because they have to move, like kind of move forward and do their thing. And once they do it, they're like an APL2 team. I really dislike the fact that their comms is their leader as well because that allocates a lot of precious mm, tactical points from your team in like literally one body, and you don't want to lose it because then your team doesn't do much. But yeah, they're definitely much better than they used to be. And like this is the example of why getting an extra body is so important in this game. Um, before we move on, maybe we should touch on why we have legionaries so low.
Yeah. Um, I just think they are a stat check team, which isn't great into a lot of the like teams at the top right now. So they don't have tricks like a lot of the other elites do. They're in a similar situation to Plague Marines, I think, but just they don't have that same injury aura that makes Plague Marines good. And I think that They aren't great into Hyrotech or Warp Coven, and I just think Cult and Sanctifiers have the stats to beat them.
Yeah, I agree, and I share your opinion that they're similar to Plague Marines in a way, meaning that like they played this game in a fair way. I would say that Legionaries probably have more consistency when it comes to damage output
Yeah,
with the what's called Flicker of Fate or
Fickle
that
Fates. Yeah,
thing. Yeah, Flicker of Fates. So they do have a bit more reliability, but they are not as tanky as Plague Marines. But it's still the same problem. They play a very fair kill team as an elite team, meaning there's six of them, and they play a fair, consistent, efficient team. And I would say it's not enough to be higher than the bottom of A tier. And in a way, uh, AOD suffer from the same problems. I know that many people see AOD as one of the most powerful teams in the game, but again, this team is just an efficient elite team with not much that breaks the rule of the game. And I would say that in case of AOD, what keeps them up so high, because I would put them much lower, is the fact that they play slightly better into the melee teams with that, parry combo.
yeah. I guess it's just the problem that when you run into someone that is doing crazy shenanigans, like moving twice across the board or teleporting someone forwards to shoot you, you don't have unfairness of your own, and that's when you really start to fall behind.
Yeah. Exactly. I agree. I agree. So yeah, this is how more or less we discuss the A tier and how we see the A tier. A tier was the elite tier. So going to B, we will have a different tendency and different um, flow in the B tier. B tier will be our horde team because you can see we've got Krut, we've got Windblade, we've got Inquisition, Blooded, Pathfinders. All of these teams are heavy counted and they've got a lot of bodies, and it's a matter of whether they can score points well. Let's say in case of Pathfinders and Blooded, because like, I personally would put Pathfinders and Blooded a bit higher if only they could score tackle slightly better than they can, and not like struggle to choose between scoring a tackle or killing the enemy operative. But yeah, what would you say about our B tier?
Yeah, I think the running theme with the hordes here is that they, as we discussed before the call, right, they have some powerful guns and then some powerful melee units generally. So, like with one blade, you have the cult agents and then a bunch of mining lasers and like a power pick or whatever. And this is something that you don't find in the horde teams that are struggling a bit right now. I would say, like they have too many just sort of baseline guys that can't keep up with the strong tanky top end of the meta.
Yeah, I would say so. Like, this is probably why we have Blooded and Pathfinders at the very top of B tier. Because Inquisition, of course, are a really good team, and in the vacuum, if you read the rules of Inquisition and Pathfinders and Blooded, like, I would probably risk saying that my decision would be to put the Inquisition above the other two because they show more flexibility, they're more tricksy, but in this meta game, if you're a horde team, I guess what you need is an ability to kill your opponent and to take their models off the board. And both Blood and Pathfinders seem to be a bit more consistent in that department, but they do trade that for that tricksiness and flexibility.
I guess there's a couple of teams that don't follow this though, like Commandos and Felgor, right? So I think we discussed Commandos as just being very tricksy now with the push pull of Shush and being able to dash everyone at the start, and especially playing surveillance really well with the Grot, right?
I like the push pull of Shush. But but yeah, like overall, I would agree with you. I think like commandos are there because they're still fairly tanky, um, and they do score victory points with Grot, as you said, like quite well. And it's a team that I would consider as utterly boring to play. I ran them myself at multiple tournaments at the end of last edition. So this team like plays this game in an absolutely boring manner because they just don't want to die. They want to score points, and that's it. So they may not be as killy as other teams, but they just don't die themselves. So in that weird way, they are also quite decent at kill up. And they do have that growth to score victory points out of nowhere, so that's great. But I'm more interested in our take on Felgo as to why we put them where they are, because they seem to be right in the middle of the pack, and just a moment ago they were at the very top.
Yeah. So I guess it's the case that there's a couple of ones sort of towards the top that do quite well into them, and especially they don't like the elite meta. They much preferred the elf meta because elites can just chew through them really well, or goremongers can chop right through them with their double fight and all their crits. But I do think the nerfs to Felgor have really hurt your ability to get consistent value out of their operatives, which was really one of their big strengths.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like they way easier to fail on their own activation, which is never a thing I would like to have on my team playing kill team. Because like when you activate your model and you kind of want them to do what you want them to do, and if you have a high chance of failing, especially on the melee team that doesn't have that flexibility. Oh, I'm gonna move and shoot here, or I'm gonna move dash pop the point there. Like the main thing of them is just I'm just gonna bash your head into the ground until you submit. But if even doing that, you haven't got your consistency that you need to do it every single activation, and at some point you may expect the team to fail, then it's not great. It's kind of similar to what we used to observe in second edition with commandos, and what drove commandos back in the days to being that, oh, I'm just gonna be durable quasi horde team that tries to take the hit, survive it, and then score the points. Is that they used to have like four attacks with virtually no rerolls. So this wasn't enough to consistently reliably kill your opponent, and this is kind of where I see Velga right now. And yeah, and this is one thing, and the other thing is that the thing that you mentioned, basically the rise of elites, where they can play against Felg all day long because they are most capable of killing them. So there's that.
Yeah, uh, certainly it's not as bad as some Felgor players seem to make out, but I think it's just not the right place and the right time for them right now.
Goats, I'll go back to the zoo or to the barn or whatever. But yeah, we've had enough goats in the past 2 years of kill team, so yeah, yeah, let them
I
go. Release
never
them
want
into
to
the
see them
wild.
again. Make sure they're not at Worlds for the third time in a row, please.
Well, I know we're gonna cover them off later, but I'm not a huge fan of goats or wasps or anything of that sort in kill teams. So there you go. At least if we look at the current melee monster in the form of cult or goremongers, there's a bit more thematically that can draw you to the team, but goats is like, oh my god, really? But yeah, this is just my personal rant towards goats. Anyway, is there anything you'd like to cover off before we move on to our beloved C tier?
Um, I guess just Blades of Cain, right? Like you mentioned, oh, I think they're now in that spot where we sort of used to view Corsairs last edition, where they're perfectly balanced as all things should be.
Yeah, kind of like they're definitely one of the more flexible elf teams that are there, and if you look at how we position them, like we've got two elf teams that we consider as worse than Blades of Cain, and then we've got what like one, two, yeah, two. Am I correct? Like two teams that we
That
consider
looks
as
right.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So they are like in the middle of the pack, and I guess the reason for that is like they don't really have an easy way to kill Marines. Like you have to always sweat a bit to 1.5 backflips and throw an incantation and whatever. And then you may be able to kill a Marine. Whereas with Void Dancers or Corsairs, you just go, okay, fusion to your face, you're out. And this is what probably puts the other two elf teams that we have in A tier, and Blades of Cain when they have to like do so many Olympic level gymnastics to kill one Space Marine. They probably should stay in B tier. Like, and they are like quite flexible. They offer a lot, and long term they may prove to be a great choice because they stay in the game for a long time. But as of now, I think they're more or less where they should be.
Wow, fusion pistols are strong. Who knew?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I'm just gonna melt your face off. And the Blades of Cain are like they do more of a performance than Void Dancers in those elite matchups because they do need to perform 17 backflips to actually do something versus Marines. But yeah, there we go. Why do we have Rattlings in C tier? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so we were sort of thinking like, oh, maybe bottom of B tier. And I don't know. The thing about Rattlings is that they are very reliant on tack op and sort of or crit op, but sometimes the crit op mission is bad for them, which is tough. And some teams I think do counter them very well. Problem with Rattlings is you have to get value out of models that aren't allowed to move at all.
Yeah, there's that, and if you combine this with the fact that if your opponent sneezes in their general direction, they're all dead. Uh, it's probably not best. Like not only you have to rely on models that cannot move when they want to do their thing, but also they're very easy to take off the board. And yeah, you've got that whole, oh, I'm just gonna clog the middle of the board with equipment strategy, but does it make for a good game? Does it make for a reliable way of winning the game? It may be interesting to some players, but at the end of the day, it's just like, is it consistent strategy when it comes to winning game after game after game, especially in long-term tournaments? I wouldn't say so. So that's why I see them there.
Yeah, I also think like they struggle into Goremongers, they struggle into Cult, struggle into higher tech, so not great against some of the top dogs right now.
Cool. So next up, we've got a few hot takes, I guess, on our C tier as to why would you put Vespids, the dreaded wasps, in C tier and not in the depths of D tier where they belong?
Okay, so I initially thought, oh, an extra body won't help solve the problems that Vespids have, which is the fact that they hit on fours, but they do get a lot of rerolls with their communion points, and with the lethal 5 of the drone, you can really like fish for crits with the shooting, but it's more about, I think, their movement and their melee that is pushing them out of the D tier right now. So they can fly 6 inches, they can dash 4 inches, they can go an extra D3 with that ploy, and they can whiz right across the board. Sometimes that's really good. And the melee with lethal 5 up, it's only 3 attacks, but hitting on threes and ceaseless, you can play the ploy for an extra D3 of damage. Now that you have that extra body, you can really trade Vespids very well for a lot of damage into whoever they charge.
Okay. Long story short, I was trying to think as to why I would accept Vespids. I know that it might sound as I didn't listen to you at all, but these are still wasps in 40k, and whoever came up with this idea changed their profession. They have no space in 40k. I know I'm representing very much imperial approach to Xenos right now, but wasps in 40k shouldn't have a place. And but yeah, like being serious and putting some jokes aside, um, they still hit on force. I think
Yeah.
that they still have an APL2 and not much apart from that. I know that there is that trick, but But apart from that, there isn't much that they can do. Yes, an extra body gives them a lot, the same way Aquilons gained a lot thanks to an extra body. But if you think about it, Aquilons hit on freeze. Aquilons have stronger guns. They are way more mobile, and half of them are up in the sky when you start the game. So it's a completely different situation. Whereas Vespids, yeah, they don't do any of these things, and I think that okay, I can see them bottom like climbing up slowly but surely out of the depths of D tier, but I wouldn't be surprised if they stay as a difficult team to play for a very, very long time.
Mm. Well, I guess that's the problem as well. They're a difficult team to play for not much reward.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Um, what else shall we talk about? Why don't we like the teams in D tier?
In D tier, so Kassakin, people think Kassakin have been improved. They are more accurate, but they don't really have tricks. Like you can boost two guys to 3 APL, and that's kind of it. Like you have fairly reliable shooting. There's a bunch of other teams you can play for the exact same reason. They're totally outclassed, and the reason you'll beat someone is because you are simply playing better than them with Kassakin right now.
Yeah, but if someone feels very precious about Kazakin, I guess deity is probably the tier that we spend least time trying to arrange in the exact order that we would like it to be. So if someone feels, oh, do you really think that Kazakin are the worst team in the game? Maybe they're not, but they're definitely in the bottom pack the way we see it as of now. And yeah, I agree with what you said. And now that you mention, yeah, they can boost two guys to free APL. Yeah, they're maybe a bit better than the very last position on the tier list. But yeah, I don't think they belong in any of the higher tiers. When it comes to Wreckers, I don't really rate them high. Simply because it's an elite team with two APL effectively. And so yeah, that makes them quite easy to be to outplay and no, to be yeah, out strategized by your opponent, and yeah, you can run circles around them in some ways. Yes, you do have to watch out not to get blown up by a random loose tomato with a dynamite stuck to it. But other than that, yeah, I just don't see that team as a strong team. Um, and they're not as tough as true elite teams. So there you go.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you say there. It's just the lack of agency again. Like there are much worse Plague Marines right now, in my opinion. Uh,
Oh my God, that's a really a hot take. And I was about to say that my last one will be about Jaegers, because I know they got buffed and people say, oh yeah, now we're going to play with Jaegers. I think they're still a very bad team. And it's not about the team itself, it's about the attack up, because they run on seek and destroy and infiltration, which I see as the worst combo possible, and that combo requires you to have plenty of bodies and a way to score those points. Otherwise, you're not gonna get there. And if we think about it, like Cope's still probably the easiest way to score your primary up as well. And taking that direction, like this is we're talking about 8 or 9 points out of 21 you can score. This is way too many to just neglect that and be, oh yeah, but they got a buff. And yes, they will be better in general gameplay, and they will do a few things better than they used to. They will have a better melee. I think they will still struggle killing Marines because they do not benefit from as many heavy weapons as salvages, for instance, or Aquilins.
yeah,
But uh, when push comes to shove, like they really, really don't score tack ups easy, and they will struggle in a way from the same problem that some of the teams in our B tier, like Blooded or Pathfinders. You'll get a choice between trying to kill your opponent and trying to score points, and I think it's going to be a very difficult choice, and one that won't make it for an easy day for you if you take the tournament.
I think this is the problem with them, right? Like aren't great at crit op because are you spending the resourceful points to do that? That's not great. They're quite slow. As you said, they're terrible at tac op, and they're just not good enough at kill op to really justify that.
Yeah, 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 exactly. I get. I mean, yes, Thane has a good ability. He lives twice, and I really value such abilities highly. But apart from that, they do not represent a solid stats line for a team that wants to play kill up. And now we know that they won't play kill up well. They won't play tack ups well. So what are they good at? Really, I know it's great that they can move the entire team like 4 inches when the game starts, but then you kind of have to continue to play the game, and this may prove to be challenging with this team, at least in my opinion. And of course, to top it all off, this is just an opinion, and I may be wrong, you may be wrong, we can both be wrong, and they're a super good team. And the Space Wasps may be the future S tier and the menace of Kill Team, but who knows? Like, let's hope we're not wrong, because I don't think I will be able to stand looking at tables full of Space Wasps with guns. But yeah, there we go. Is there anything that we wanted to mention as well? I don't think there was, right?
I think we've pretty much covered everything today. Um,
Gosh, guys, Blitz tier list video in Q2 of 2025 with so many teams, and we managed to squeeze that in under an hour.
wow, just over half an
Wow.
hour, in fact. Good
Yes,
stuff.
that's good stuff. That yeah, yeah, exactly. Perfect time for your lunch break, and yeah, exactly how much time you would want to spend on a tier list. Um, cool, great.
Thank you
From
very
my
much
end,
for joining us
and
today,
thank
Bart.
you for having me. Thank you for having me. To all the listeners, thank you for withstanding my poor sense of humor. And yeah, good luck in your games. Please play elites because I intend to play salvages. And yeah, good luck at your tournaments. And again, Dan, thank you for having me.
Cool. All right. See you around, guys.